you can't make a living from pole, that's not allowed. I need someone to be like, so after your choreo the other day when you were like, I was like, my neck. I'm literally a man dressed in a wig. It's a joke, like it's a fucking joke. But we're like, yes, we're like, abuse us more, tell us we're shit. We love it. My body's like, what is this rest? What is rest? I've never had this before. Don't be fucking offended by my fucking memes. Listen, I'm not gonna be able to do this for very long, so you better get fucking promoted soon because you're gonna have to pay for me soon.
Then, what's up with Susan? Hello, welcome on my show. I'm Diana Paramonova, and today I have my first guest. Guess who? Woo!
It's me!
It's Dan.
It's Dan Rosen.
Dan, the one, from where should I start? Okay, first thing what comes that you are creator of pole lols, which everyone knows.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think it's not the most important because you have pole destroyers.
Yeah.
You had your studio for so many years, and you invested like making workshops all around the world, and you also have your podcast, which I was like, you have such a big podcast on Spotify, on all other platforms.
Yeah.
Is there something I'm missing?
No, I think you've literally got all of it. I can't think of anything else. I mean, obviously I don't have my studio anymore. I sold my studio because the online studio just took over my life. So I was like, well, I'm gonna sell the studio. I think I picked like the perfect time to sell it as well because I don't know what it's like here in Riga, but in the UK, the studios are kind of like, they're not struggling, but they're not as busy as they were. So the cost of living in the UK has just gone so high, and it's so much harder to get people into the studio. So I just thought, you know what, I think now is a good time to sell, so I just sold. But I miss it because obviously it was like the first business that I ever ran, but you know, I literally ran the studio for 10 years. So then I was just a bit like, oh, it's gone. This is really weird. But it's fine because I'm always keeping myself busy. Like I always do like trips like this where I'm going to just train for myself. So I don't really get a moment of peace anyway. So I'm still crazy busy. It hasn't really given me back that much time. But yeah, so that you pretty much got all of it. I think, yeah, pole destroyers, pole lols. But I don't do all of pole lols actually. It's really funny. Everyone says about pole lols to me, but actually pole lols is kind of managed by my assistant now. She does a lot of it for me. I know, it sounds so bougie, it's actually not that bougie. It makes me sound so official. I'm like, my assistant does it, but it's just because it takes up a lot of time. So she does a lot of that stuff, so that's good.
It sounds like a businessman.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You know how to do.
I feel like we need to treat this as a business. I think I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I feel like pole dancers spent a long time doing it as a hobby, and we couldn't really make much money from it. And then as the industry progressed, it got to a point where we could make money from it. And now I just kind of feel like people, I don't know, like people find it really odd when you make money from pole, and I don't know why. I think we've got this like struggling artist mentality where people think you can't make a living from pole, that's not allowed, but like you can make a living from anything if you work hard enough at it, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I just heard like, okay, it's not work because I'm enjoying it, and like, why it's not work? Like it's knowledge which you share, which you like invest in. So yeah.
And that's not a good way to run a business either. Like if you run a business just because you love it, it'll never make any money. You have to want to make money from it, otherwise you just won't.
Yeah. But it sounds like you had a change in mind, I guess. I don't know, like how it was, because you sound like very business-oriented person. And from my perspective, I had such a time when like I didn't think about money at all, and then I was like, okay, I need to start thinking about it.
Yeah.
And did you have such a shift, or it was like from the beginning because the studio you had was for so many years and like it existed?
Well, I mean, there was a period where I just did it as a hobby, and it took me quite a few years to get any good at it. And the reason I opened my studio wasn't because I wanted to make money. It was actually because where I lived, there wasn't a studio to train. So So I was traveling like over 45 minutes to get to a studio to train. So I was like, I can't keep doing this. I was like, I have to find somewhere closer. So I found a studio that I could use, and I just put up a poll. And then I was like, oh, I'll offer private lessons. And then I was like, I'll offer group lessons. Then I had more group lessons, and it just eventually grew and grew and grew. And I was like, okay, so I guess we're doing this then. This is a studio now. So yeah, so then it became the studio, and that lasted for 10 years. And it's still going now, but it's ran now by one of my instructors that I had for, like, she was there for 10 years, and she owns it now, so it's really nice.
It's cool that the person you know and like you can.
Yeah, she's like one of my first students as well. Like, it's really funny because she used to always get like, everyone used to be like, oh, Karen, the golden child, like, because she was literally like the main instructor that I'd always use, because she was always available. Like, she was always on hand to help. Like, she was just the perfect instructor. Like, she was amazing. So it couldn't have gone to anyone else but her. So I'm really glad that she got it.
I see you come to Riga pretty often, so you have possibility.
I try to come once a year because I don't know if this is insulting to say. I feel like this is the closest country I can get to Russian-style training without being in Russia, because we can't just go to Russia. And even if I did at the moment, I think because of the war and stuff, I think people would cancel me if I went to Russia right now. So the Pole community, I think, are still very pro-Ukraine. So if I were to go there, I think that would cause problems for me. But more than anything, I'd have to get like a visa and stuff. Whereas to come here, I can literally just fly here and it's fine. So yeah, I like it here because everyone's still like, you guys kind of like train very similar to how like the Russians train, which is kind of what I need, because I don't do very well with the soft approach. I need someone to be like, suka bliat, еще раз. Like, you know what I mean? I need someone to like tell me and be like, no, like you're still doing it wrong. Whereas in the UK, they wouldn't do that. They just be like, oh, it's getting better. And I'm like, no, like, well, tell me what I'm doing fucking wrong. Like, I want to do it good. So I just can't with that. I need harsh.
For quality.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
We are slowly coming to the topic of how you started your journey in pole, who was your teachers, how you became the teacher.
Well, to make like a long story short, I mean, years and years ago, it was like over 15 years ago, I went to a club that was near, not a strip club, just a normal club, a gay club actually. So I went to this gay club and they had 3 levels, and in the bottom level they played like house music, it's the kind of like upbeat music, but they had 4 poles, but they weren't proper poles, they were like scaffolding poles, but people used them as normal poles. And normally people didn't do anything on them, so people just danced around them. They might have like done a spin or something for a joke, but they didn't know any pole dancing. And then one night I was there, and this girl and guy were doing like, I know this doesn't sound advanced, but like back then it was, butterfly. They were doing like Superman, and I was like, where the hell did you learn this? And they were going like upside down, and I was like, can you teach me how to do that? So they taught me, and I got it straight away, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I did it all night, and then the next day, I was like, ow, my arms, like my back was so sore, I was so tired. I was like, fuck, this is really good actually, like this is what I need. So I then found classes near where I lived, and just started classes there. I didn't really make much money at the time, so I worked in an office, and I wasn't being paid very well, so I couldn't afford to go very often. So I went like once or twice a week for a few years, and then I started competing, and yeah, that kind of all like kicked off with the competing and stuff and social media. Then I started being offered workshops, and when I was starting to be offered workshops, that was when I opened my studio, because I was like, I need somewhere to train that's not 45 minutes away. So yeah, I opened my studio, and then that kind of progressed from there. And then I started traveling and teaching workshops, and here I am in Riga training so randomly. But yeah, so yeah, that's my story. What about you? How did you start?
Oh, it's like unexpected turn.
It's like a switch. Now I'm interviewing you.
But actually, it's very similar. My story, like how I started, because okay, I was dancing Latvian folk dances, I already mentioned.
I love that.
and we had how it's like not bachelor party, but when you enter the community, the collective, they have like introduction into the group, and they do with you different bad things, like you know what's that?
Yeah. It's like, we call it an initiation.
So that's it. And we had it in the sauna, and there was Paul, and I was like, ooh, like Paul, and I was like very good girl.
Yeah.
And then I had a guy who I liked, and I was like, I cannot just go there and show bad show, you know? Like I'm professional choreographer, I cannot like do shit. And I was like, when everyone was drunk, I tried, and I just like slipped down, and I was like, I can't do it beautiful. I need to learn striptease. And I went to one studio, another one, and like in the studios, I understood it's actually not striptease, and I got so involved. Like I can learn so much here, because at that moment, like I was already dancing like ballet, contemporary, all the dance styles, and I was learning how to become choreographer in academy. Like already had knowledge, but here I come and like, wow, so much knowledge in here. Like I can learn. And I was just like, interested in it. And in a half a year, like Jana asked me if I want to become I want to become a coach, because I had experience in teaching already, and she just started Pole Emotion. So yeah, that's how it started.
Oh, is that still happening? Pole Emotion. This is a competition, right?
She
it's
made
in
it
Russia.
in Russia.
Yeah, because she lives in Russia now, right?
Yeah.
No, I remember Pole Emotion. Oh, so it is still going.
Yes, I guess.
But just
like
not
after
in...
a break, she had it in Russia.
Nice. Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And did you compete in that competition?
Yeah,
you did?
Many times, but it was always a hard story for me, because I'm such a, like, you know, I need first place.
Oh,
I
really?
need to be the best.
Is that because you were a dancer before?
Yeah, ballet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm competitive too. I don't know where that comes from though, because I didn't do anything competitively. I'm just a competitive person. I think I'm competitive more with myself though, because I know I can do better. So it's like when when I was in your class and I just was like, I kept messing bits up and I was like, I know I can fucking do this. Like, it's so frustrating when you know you can do something better. So I always want to better myself, which is why I go and like learn all the time, because I like to try and always improve what I'm doing. But also because I don't know if you've had this. Have you had a period in your career yet where you just hate pole?
Hate pole, no.
I literally hate, well, okay, that hate's a strong word, maybe not hate. So yeah, I didn't hate it, but I felt like it was my job, and it just felt like my job. It wasn't my fun anymore. I used to have so much fun with pole, and I was just like, this isn't fun like it used to be. I don't know why. And that was when I started dancing exotic, because I was like, oh, let's try this. This will make it more fun. And oh my God, it just changed everything for me. Like that's what made it more fun, because you can create new choreos all the time. But with tricks, you can keep learning new tricks, but they're always going to get harder and harder. And there comes a point where you have to be like, is this safe for me to do? Like there was, do you know what a gainer is? Have you heard of it? It's when you're in like a shoulder mount and you like swing your legs up, you swing down and then you back flip off.
Yes, I saw it.
So that was like, you're like, I saw it.
Let's say try.
That was like one of the hardest tricks that I ever learned. And when I got that, I was like, oh, like wow, like, because I didn't do any gymnastics, so I was like, wow, this is really cool that I can do that. Like, I wonder what else I can do. So then I tried learning a flip called, I think it's called palm flip. And you're like facing the pole, you're holding the pole here, you swing your legs forward, you swing them back, and then you back flip off. Well, thank God I had so many crash mats down, because I literally flipped back and I just went, huh, and I literally landed on my neck. And my neck's not been the same since. So after your choreo the other day, when you were like, I was like, my neck.
I was like, are you saving me?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Mel the next day, her neck after your, she was like, oh my God, is anyone else's neck killing them? I was like, yes, mine is. But that's because of that accident. It's literally never been the same since. And that was when I kind of started to hate pole, because I was like, there was nowhere else for me to go, because I'd kind of reached that point where I was like, this is not safe for me anymore. I'm 36, I'm not in my 20s anymore. And I watched like Dmitry Politov and I just think, his days are numbered, he's gonna die soon. I just know. I love him to death, I really do. I love him so much. But I literally message him all the time and I say, I'm worried about you because I genuinely think you're gonna die someday. Like, he hangs off these bridges and I'm like, you are gonna fucking slip one day. He just does not care. He has no regard for his life at all. And I do, so I'm just like, no. And I can't risk being injured. You know, as a studio owner, we can't be injured because if we're injured, we can't teach. If we can't teach, we don't make money. So I just can't risk that anymore. So that's why I love the dancing, because it's so much harder to injure yourself dancing, right? So yeah.
Yeah, like asking about like if I had periods of hating pole, no, but I hated tricks. So, but because like I never.
Did you start with tricks?
I started with tricks, yes,
Okay.
because no one like offered the just exotic. They said first you go on tricks, and only then you go to exotic. Like
Okay.
now it sounds crazy, but it was like system was like that.
Sure.
And the conditioning wasn't the very like strong part, or like at that moment we teached how we teached, you know. And I never had enough power because I'm like not strong, and I was like, oh, I cannot do these things. I hate it, but I always loved dance. So
Sure.
yeah, that's how it went.
And do you still do any of the Latvian folk dance?
No.
You don't do it anymore?
No, no.
So you were training to be a coach, were you, for Latvian dance?
I was trained as a choreographer and dance educator, so it's not like a coach more, but exactly how
Like
to
a choreographer,
teach.
yeah. That's cool. But you don't do any of that anymore?
I do with pole.
But with pole. Oh, so it
Yeah.
wasn't specifically choreography for Latvian folk dance?
No,
Oh,
it's
I
all
see.
styles.
So
yeah,
you can use it anywhere?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
And that's what you do? Oh, that's so cool. Would you ever go back to it again?
to folk.
Yeah.
I had some thoughts because we have big celebration like once in 5 years when all Latvians come and dance one dance, and it feels so good when many people on
Yeah.
the stadium dance one dance. But I'm not sure like it's my priority for now since like I'm very excited about pole and yeah.
Is this where they wear the traditional?
Yeah.
I was here once for this because
Watching or
no, so I was here training with like Sasha, and I remember saying to her, I was like, why is everyone wearing this stuff? I was like, do people wear this normally? She was like, no. She was like, no, you've just come at a time where we've got this like celebration thing happening. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, it's just live and you learn. But yeah, it's really cool. Like the outfits are just so cute. I know that's like, we've got cute outfits in the UK too, so don't worry, it's okay. We have like all the British Guard outfits and
right.
stuff. So we have all that traditional wear as
Too.
well. I don't wear any of it, but yeah.
But you said like you had no background like when you started pole. Like, did you do anything like maybe
No,
in childhood?
this is why I can't dance without a pole in my hand. Because as soon as the pole's not there, I'm like, yeah, I'm just, I did, so in my like early teens, I must have been like 13 maybe, I did some dance classes, but we didn't live there for very long. So I think I only got to do like 5 or 6. But I knew that I had like rhythm, if that makes sense. So I could hear the music. You know how not everyone can hear it?
Yeah.
Like we hear a beat, but not everyone can hear that beat. I knew that I had a rhythm and I knew that I could hit beats, so I knew that I could kind of dance, but it just didn't feel right in my body. Like I enjoyed it, but I was just like, this isn't really for me. And then when I discovered pole dance, that's when I realized it was for me. But what I think actually is that I would have enjoyed gymnastics. I think I like the acrobatic kind of style of pole. So I think if I'd done gymnastics, I would have been probably quite good at it. But because I started so late, I was just like, no, I'm too afraid to hurt myself.
So what age did you start pole?
So I would have been 21 or 20, I would have been. Yeah, hold on, what am I now? Yeah, I would have been 21. Yeah, 21.
Such a big actually career path.
Right, but you also think like 21 now is actually like quite late. I mean, some of these kids now like are so young. It's crazy. Like you obviously
saw
follow
the
like
video.
Albert. Yeah, the ones I do a lot of videos about these children. But yeah, like don't get me wrong. Obviously, those videos are jokes. I think they're amazing. Like it is so cool, and I know that if I had been forced into doing gymnastics and pole when I was younger, I probably would have been as good as like Alberto and Morris as well. But when you start as an adult, it's so much harder. Hey, it's like your body is just conditioned to being sat down all the time, or well, maybe yours wasn't because you dance, but like mine, I was like on my computer all the time. So I was just like this, like you know what I mean? So my hamstrings were super tight. Getting splits for me took a long, long time. Yeah, so it's been a long journey.
But I think exactly because of starting at 20, 21, you can now give it to others, just to like people, because I believe the pole sport and pole dance is from 18, most usually, the place where you come. And if people didn't do anything before and they want to learn and they want progress and they want joy from that, they like need to know how to work with their body.
Right.
And yeah, when they're gymnastics or dancers background, sometimes like can't properly understand how the body works, because like they don't have such an experience, and like having such experience.
Well, yeah, I think
it's
if you've not had any previous dance or gymnastic background, I think the thing is as well, and I don't know what it's like here, but the gymnast kids, they get taught how to do stuff, but they don't really understand what their body is doing because they're so young, right? So then they just know that they can do this, but they never really learned what muscles were being used or like what technique they specifically needed to do, because they just learned it and they managed to retain that information. But they didn't really understand what their bodies are doing. As an adult, you have to understand what your body's doing, because it's so dangerous just to be like, well, I'm just gonna try and flip, my coach will catch me. But when you're a kid, you can, because you're so small, the coach can just throw you around. But as adults, we can't do that. And I find that because lots of the moves took me so long to learn, it then meant that I had so many good teaching tips for other adults who wanted to learn the tricks but couldn't do them. Because I was like, oh yeah, I couldn't do this either, so let me help you, you know? So I feel like it's taught me a lot about my body. I don't do pole for fitness. I don't know what your vibe is on that, and a lot of people like don't like when I say this, which is why I'm gonna say it on the podcast. But like, I don't do pole for fitness. I'm not like in the best of shape. I dance because I enjoy it, but I love to eat. And I will be having one of those cakes in this cafe when we leave. But do you know what I mean? It's like, I do it because I like to eat, I do it because I love to dance, and I do it because it just fills my heart with joy. I don't do it because, I didn't start because I was like, I need to get fit, I need to look amazing. I just kind of was like, this is fun, I'm gonna do it for fun. And nowadays, I do the same, but it does make me a little bit insecure sometimes, because obviously so many of the male pole celebrities, like Dmitry Politov, I mean, I swear he's like training all the time, and I'm like, and he's ripped, like his body is like so ripped and he's so strong, and these guys are all in amazing shape, whereas I'm not, and sometimes that can make me feel a little bit like, like, do I belong here? But actually, like, I think sometimes that can be my biggest selling point, because many of the people that I teach, they're not in amazing shape either. So like, you know, we're just doing it because we enjoy it. So yeah, I don't know how I got to that. I don't know, I'm just blabbing at this point.
I believe like him, like this is natural thing, that's why he does that, and you are you, so
Right.
yeah, exactly, when you are on your spot, it's great. I have a question about perfectionism a little bit, because yeah, I noticed it in the class, I was like surprised, because at the same time, you very understand, as I see, how to work with people, how to help them, how to cheer them, like keep going and so on. And in some moments, like maybe you learned how to work with that perfectionism. How it was it strong or not? Like
yeah, I don't know. I think because I went through a stage of being really harsh on myself. Like back when I was competing, I would be so hard on myself. Like if I didn't win a competition, I would go home, I'd be really sad about it, and then I'd be like, right, what did I do wrong? I need to do better on the next one. I need to change this, and I would be really hard on myself. But you know, it's one of those things that's just like, this is just pole, like it should be fun, like, and it took me a long time to kind of be like, you know, you can't be this way with yourself, you have to be nicer to yourself. But I am still a perfectionist because I want to look my best, right? So I want to do my best for myself, but I'm not as harsh on myself anymore. So like, I don't know whether you remember, so you remember like everything you did was on like right knee, and I was like, Deanna, my knee is killing me, I need to do left knee. So I made an adjustment, didn't I, to the choreo, and I turned on the left instead. See, when I do things like that, that still sometimes I try not to, but it does sometimes piss me off, because I'm like, no, I should be able to do the other leg. But I'm like, no, you've got an injury, just adjust it. But back in the day, I would have just fought through the pain and I would have just done it anyway. But nowadays I'm like, nah, it's not worth it, because I've done that before with splits. I tried to like force my legs when they didn't want to go, and I ended up injuring my hamstring. And I just thought, this really wasn't worth it, was it? So now I don't do that. I just try to be like, no, it's fine. Work around your own limitations, and I do that. But I think that period of my life when I was really, really harsh on myself made me be very empathetic towards other people. So when we did our private with you, we had me, Mel and Ali. But Ali can be very hard on herself because she's not new to pole, but she's a little bit newer to pole than I am. She's not been doing it as long, but she can be really hard on herself. And I just find like with people like that, rather than being like, oh, why are you being hard on yourself? Sometimes you just gotta like throw loads of love at them and like loads of encouragement and be like, you look amazing, like, come on, you've got this. Like, I won't lie though, that's the only thing I won't do. I won't be like, oh, you look amazing if you don't look amazing. I'll be like, listen, come on, you can do it better than that. Like, but I'll be encouraging. Because otherwise, no one's gonna want to train with you, because they'll just be like, he's just too mean. I'll be like Sasha.
There are different
Fuck you,
possibilities.
bitch. Fuck you, bitch. I hope she sees this. Fuck you, I love you.
But this is part of being showman, I guess. Like as a coach, we love some coaches because like this is just the character.
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what's really funny is, you know, I joke about Sasha because everyone always like makes out she's such a bitch. But actually it's funny because yes, her character, her persona is like, oh, this bitch and stuff, but actually she's very caring. Like, there's been times in classes where people have cried and stuff, and she's been like, oh, like she's the first to go over and make sure they're okay, but she doesn't want to upset anyone. But it's really funny because depending on where you're from in the world, depends on how well you get on with that sense of humor, because Sasha was in Thailand with us, and Americans don't really get that sense of humor, but the Europeans, we love it. So she knows we love it, but the Americans were a bit like, oh, but we fucking love it. We're like, yes, we're like, abuse us more, tell us we're shit. We love it. So I just love her for that. So yeah, but not everywhere gets that.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell about your teachers on the way from whom you learned.
Yeah.
Because you have so much knowledge through these years, and it came from somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, my initial teacher, my first ever teacher, you probably won't know her, but you might have had contact with her. Her name's Stacey Snedden. Do you know that name?
Maybe I'm not
Did
good
you
at
ever?
names.
Have you ever done any UK competitions before?
My last one was in UK.
Which one was it?
In Coventry.
So there are a lot of other competitions in the UK, and lots of them are organised by someone called Stacey Snedden, and she also works for X-Pole. So, yeah, you have X-Poles, don't you?
Yeah.
So she works for X-Pole. She was my initial teacher, and so she taught me for many years, but she was the one that lived really far from me, so her studio was like a good 45 minutes away. So she was my first teacher, and then do you know who Justine McLucas is? Justine McLucas, yeah, she doesn't do exotics, so probably you wouldn't know her, but like she's more like contemporary ballet style. And she taught me after that, and then to be honest, I then just sort of traveled and like learned from loads of different people. So I never really had a set teacher except for when I went to Stacey's, but I learned from loads of different people in the UK. I just felt like, I feel like that's what kind of made me like quite, I say multifaceted, I don't know, do you know this word, multifaceted? It basically means that you do lots of different things. So like I went to this person for exotic, I went to this person for flips, I went to this person for flow, like Bendy Kate as well, like I did lots of training with Bendy Kate, but Bendy Kate's like 3.5 hours away from where I live, so I didn't get to do that very often. But yeah, like I've taken classes with her. I've taken classes with a lot of people actually. And during COVID, I took lots of online classes because what else could we do? But yeah, so I just love learning, and I think it's really important for teachers as well that we don't just teach, that we learn as well, because it's so refreshing for us. So yeah.
About the traveling, what came first? You started to travel to learn from someone, or you started to teach, and by the way you catch teachers? And
Yeah, so I guess, so I started being asked to go and teach workshops, so that's when I started traveling. And then when I'd started traveling, like some of them would be pole camps, and at some pole camps they let you take other people's classes. So I thought, well, I'm here, I may as well. So I took other people's classes and I just loved it. So then I think I'd met Sasha, for example, at a camp, and then I was like, oh cool, I'm gonna go to Latvia because it's possible for me to travel there. So then I travelled to Latvia and I trained with her and Aliona when they were, and then came to your class as well. So yeah, I did some classes there, and then I left, and then I come back every year now because I love it. But I try and do lots of different camps, like for myself. So yeah, so I think it's good to be a student, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool, yeah, that you had a lot of different teachers. It's very good approach to get more knowledge and to get the best from each of them.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard, like, because obviously, and you know, because you're a teacher as well, like, it's very hard to find the time, especially if you're running a business, teaching, and the training is the least of our worries. So this is why, though, I book stuff like this, because if I'm at home, I'll be like working and I'll be like, oh, I'm supposed to train now, but I'm like, I need to do this, so I'm like, I'll just keep working. So your training time is so easy to just cut when you're at home. But when I'm here, I'm here. I have to train, I've paid my money. So because I've paid for it, I'm like, right, I have to go and do it, so let's go and do it. And then I leave and I'm dead. But like my last day is today and I'm fucked. My body is dead. But it's been amazing. Like I just love being a student. It's so fun.
Did you count how many trainings you had in Riga?
Yeah, so when we were here, I think we did about three hours on average a day, but some days we did 4. So it's a lot. So I mean, I don't know what that adds up to, but it's quite a lot of training.
Yeah.
But it's good because then I can like take that away. It can inspire me for like my choreography later. But more than anything, it's just refreshing just to learn the way other people teach. And it's funny actually, because we were talking about, because you teach quite differently actually, like when you taught us your choreo, you do something that I've not done before, which is you teach the main elements first and then you teach the choreo. It's just a really unique, I like seeing other people's warm-ups, other people's teaching techniques, because it can only make us better, right? Sometimes people will give me this small little tip and I'll be like, that's such a great tip, I'm gonna keep that, like, because I really like that. And so yeah, that's why I just find it really important to always just like listen and like see what other teachers are doing, because it can only make us better as teachers ourselves, so yeah.
Yeah, it's very unusual. Like when I was preparing for the interview, I always do it. Like I go to the end of your Instagram.
Oh God,
like,
that must have taken you forever.
Yes,
literally, it's like 5,000 posts on there.
you
I think.
have a lot of them.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, what I wanted to tell. When I prepare, yeah, I saw that you traveled and you exactly learned a lot. And I was like, it's a little bit different from what others do. Yes, sometimes I see other teachers, they travel and they attend some classes, but not in that big amount. So
right.
That's very what just stand out with.
I mean, last year I did go a bit over the top. Do you know what it was? Is that it was like, I'm obsessed with Isabella from Russia.
We all are.
Isabella, I love you. But like, yeah, she's just awesome. And I just love that style. And like, I'd booked all of this training and then a camp popped up and they were like, we have Isabella. I was like, guess I'm going to this camp as well then. So I was like, fuck, so I rearranged loads of my work because I was like, she's not ever gonna be, it's not gonna be easy to just see her because it's very difficult for many of the Russians, to be honest, it's really difficult. And Australians, if they're ever around or in Europe, I always try my best to try and get to their classes because I know that there's going to be a very low chance I'll see them again. So whenever they're around. So last year it just happened to be that there was so many things. But, and also, I don't like to post too much of my own choreo, but that is because I've got this pet hate of posting my choreos, which this sounds really bad. I hate posting my choreos and then people just teaching them to other people. And I'm like, no, stop teaching my choreo. So now actually, to prevent that, I actually sell my choreo to teachers so that if they want to teach it, they can, but they have to pay for it because we spend hours choreographing. I'm like, I'm not just gonna let someone steal that off my Instagram. But, and this is why I always make sure I tag the teacher that taught me the choreo, because I'm like, don't tag me if you copy this, don't drag me into this, like tag the teacher that I was taught by. But yeah, I just, that's the only thing that I get a bit funny with. Like, I hate posting my choreo, so what I tend to do is I'll post clips, little short clips of it.
Not the
So
whole.
that people can't see the full thing. Because, yeah, I don't know, it's just, we're in a weird period with the industry at the moment. People just love stealing from each other.
Yeah, like I guess we also spoke about that with Sasha. Like there is a law about author law. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
the
so we
translate-
call it
yeah.
copyright. Like,
Copyright. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
in dance it also exists, and you can even like put it, and it will be protected.
Right.
But yeah, with dance there is a thing. If three things are different, then this is already interpretation and not the
Right,
copy.
exactly. So I could literally just add like a small body roll, and it's like, so. But
I
this
made
is the
it.
thing as well. We shouldn't need to do that. Like, it should just be common sense. Do you know what I mean?
It's ethics,
like,
no?
it's ethics. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. When students copy and they just say, oh, like, I just was doing a training session, I stole this little bit. I love that. Love that. But when people are making money from something, I don't think that's fair. I think it's wrong. And people disagree and agree on that. Like, because I've talked about this online before, and it's really mixed. But you tend to find that the people who say like, no, it's fine, are people that don't choreograph. Because if they did choreograph, they would know how fucking annoying it is.
Yes.
Because when you've worked on something for so long, and then you see someone else teaching it, you're like, fuck's sake, like, why did I bother? Like, that took me so long to make, and someone's just stolen it. So that's why I tend not to really post all of mine. But yeah, what about you? Do you post? Because you said to me, like, the choreo you taught us, I was like, oh, have you posted it? And you were like, no. I was
No,
like, oh,
it's
okay.
not. It's just very fresh.
Okay.
The one, because with my pro group, they are attending like 1.5 years, some of them, and they grow in a level. And I also grow, and I finally can give them more complicated material. And
Yeah.
this is like the one I like, but it's yet not filmed. So I do post, maybe not that often, because I usually make choreographies just for my two groups. Now also online third group. So 3 choreos
Oh, you
a month.
teach online?
Yes, I just also made same groups as here, just online format by the request. So everyone just tells what they want from the month, and like I create program for month exactly for them. So
Is it live or is it like pre-recorded?
live doesn't work that much because people are so much like from other places, like and
I
they
see.
work. So it's recording, but they get
Okay.
the feedback. So
Nice.
yeah, and I enjoy it so much because
That's-
all of them are teachers, and I'm
Right.
like, I can give you a lot of material.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And do you allow them to teach that material?
They didn't, actually, they asked me even not about the choreo, but about some elements or like how I give them the warming up or some like exercises. And I say, yes, you pay money for that.
Yeah.
Yes. About the choreo.
Oh, wait, they pay extra for it or?
No, like
Oh,
they
I
pay
see.
for the group.
Okay.
Because I learned from someone also, like
Right.
I go to tricks classes, I learned conditioning a little bit more, and
Yeah.
I give it to my students because it gives results.
Right.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this is how we learn from each other. About the choreo, I say like if you take the whole choreo, just say it's from someone.
Sure.
Because I had such a thing about detailization and plasticity. This is a big thing which changed my dancing level, understanding like deeply how muscles work. I learned it from Baina Basanova from Russia.
Okay.
And like I was like, I love my dance now. Like something what I hated, now I see I love it. But she doesn't teach in English, and I see without that, no one can like qualitatively dance.
Right.
And I was like, will you make maybe something online in English? And she's like, no, that's not my target auditory. And when I teach detailization and plasticity from her, I always just say, this is from Baina.
Nice.
Like, this is how like I can, like if they want to go more deeply, they can go to her and learn.
Yeah.
I give just what they cannot work without.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because I noticed you're very detailed. I love that because Nastia as well, who I go to while I'm here, she's very detailed as well. Like the very small little things, just like the head movements and stuff. And she's always really hot on me with that because these are the details that it tends to be that I'm so focused on everything else. I'm just focused on trying to get the routine that I don't even think about like the hands and the head and the spinal movements. And this is why I love coming here, because I feel like the detail of the teaching is better here for me. Like Sasha as well, like when I need it from her, she can give me the detail when she needs. She's more of a fast-paced teacher, which I really like, because I like learning quite fast. I get bored very easily. But if I need details from her, she absolutely can. If I ask her and just say, oh, can you give me some more detail on this? She's really good at breaking it down. So I really like that. So this was someone else that taught you that, someone from Russia?
Detailization and plasticity, yes.
Nice.
Like this is like very basic technique, and I see in exotic pole dance world, it's not yet that like popularized. Like
No, that's the word. Yeah.
So
But she's not a pole. She's a pole dancer. Or?
She's strip plastic frame up dancer.
Okay.
She used to do something with pole to also like get known in our industry too.
Yeah.
But now she's not like pole dancing.
Right. Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah, she's frame up strip plastic dancer. About posting, not posting the choreos, there is another side. Like if we don't share, people won't know how we dance and if they want to learn from us or no. Because you asked also from me if I have these videos, and I was like, oh, in my Russian blog now I try to less put videos because of shadow ban and so on. That's why I created another account. And actually it works.
Because I messaged you, I was like, you were like, can you do this interview? I was like, bitch, you don't even follow me. You were like, yes, I do. You're on the wrong account. I was like, okay, I take it back. I take it back. I was like, fine. I was like, bitch, you don't even follow me. It was so funny as well, because I sent it, and I was like, I'm so like, I don't know why I'm like that. I'm just the type of person, I'm like, bitch, you don't even fucking follow me. And you're like, yes, I do. You're like, I do, but on the wrong profile. I was like, okay, fine, I'll let you off.
But if we don't share, maybe people won't know and won't.
I agree with that too. I think as well, like, I mean, going into even more kind of depth with that, like, people want to see how you dance, but actually people want to know what you're like as a person. I feel like people, we're at a point now in pole where everyone's good. Like, there's so many good pole dancers out there. So back when I first started doing pole, we had Felix Kane, Alethea Austin, Ona Cavella, and Janine Butterfly. They were like the main four that I can think of off the top of my head. So if we wanted to learn a spatchcock, the only person you could learn it from was Felix Kane, because she was the only one who could do it back then. Now I could throw a stone and I would hit someone who can do a spatchcock. Do you know what I mean? Because there's lots of people who can do it now. So now we're in, like back then, we only had this small option of pole dancers that we could learn these elite tricks from. But now we have so many people you can learn from. So now what's happening is I'm noticing that people aren't just going to classes with the people who are really, really good. They're going to the classes with people that are good teachers and are nice people. Because that's what they want. They want to have a fun time. But yeah, I think people don't want to learn now from just someone who's crazy, amazing at pole. I've been to many classes with people that I was like, oh, I can't wait to have a class with this person. And then you have a class and you're like, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Like, and it's really sad. And then there's been classes with people. When I first had a class with Nastya, again, I'm just using these examples because I know you know who these people are, but I didn't know who Nastya was when I first booked into the classes. And now I fucking love Nastya. Like, there's so many names out there that are so good that just aren't well known. And for her, it's just because she never fucking posts on social media, bitch. And I tell you need to post more. But like, and I tell her all the time, I'm like, you need to post more because like, you potentially could be like one of the next big names. Like, her flows are amazing, right? And it's just like, social media now has almost become the main platform for making a name for yourself, which is like, I'm making a program at the moment to help pole dancers with their social media, because it is really intense. Like, it's not easy. Like, running a social media platform, like, it's a lot of fucking work. It's not just just post a video. You've got to edit it. You've got to think of a caption. You've got to engage on your stories. You've got to speak to your followers, because they want to feel like they're part of something. And if you just post and never really engage with your followers, they just get bored and they leave. So yeah, so I wanted to create a course to help people with stuff like that, because I really love that side of it. I really feel like I've tried to like keep up with the times with social media, and I just became obsessed with it. And now I'm like, this is kind of interesting the way it works. Like, so yeah, so now I'm going to create a course to help people with that. So, but yeah.
This also is the thing which I noticed when I was scrolling your
Yeah.
feed, and there was so many things where you're like, oh, now when I got your attention with some dirty trick,
Yeah.
I was like, bitch.
I know, I loved it. So people actually hate when I do that because I'm like, okay, I want to talk about something serious. I'm not going to say this person's name because I don't want to give them any more attention. And I'll be like, we have a sale on, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, you fucking bitch. They're like, we thought you were going to give us drama. But then when I actually have drama to give people, people are like, is this drama or is he tricking us again?
You're tricking people. But did you learn it by just having knowledge from this year's blogging, or you learned also somewhere?
You just learn as you go along. I mean, you know, from looking through my page, I got a lot of posts. I know what posts do well, I know what posts do bad, and I've just learned over the years. But I follow a lot of like social media, like guru pages, which give tips and stuff, and I like those, they're quite good. Sometimes it doesn't really apply to pole dancers though, so I have to try and like think of ways that I can amend it to work for me. But yeah, I just follow pages like that, and that really helps. So yeah.
Going back to teachers topic, you have Pole Destroyers, how it's called, project, and there I see you invite some other also teachers.
Yeah.
Let's maybe speak to Criterions, maybe how you decide who you take to your program, or like who you see as a good teacher.
Yeah.
So.
Well, generally, I try to ask people who I've learned from. Actually, it's really funny. I was going to message you when I get home because I really want you to teach online for me as well. Do you have Wi-Fi at your studio, by the way?
I have everything.
You have?
For
Okay, perfect. We're going to set this up. But I first of all, I like to ideally have taken a class with them myself. It's not always possible because some of the people that I ask, they're from all over the world. So if it's someone that I've taken a class with or I've trained with them and I just like their vibe, I'll ask them. And sometimes I will just ask if someone's like a popular pole dancer and they're doing really well. I'm like, oh, I'll ask them because my students will request them. So sometimes it's student requests, and then sometimes it's like, guys, I want you to have a lesson with this person because I've taken a class with them and they're really good. So it's a bit of both. But yeah, it's funny, like when you start a platform, people sign up to it because they want classes with you. So they're mainly on there for me, but the guest classes are just like a nice supplement. It's nice for them to learn from different people because that's what I did.
Yeah,
so I just thought, well, I can't say to them, oh, it's just going to be me, because then it kind of like goes against what I've always said for myself of being like, go and learn from everyone. So I'm always encouraging people to go and learn from different people. So I thought, well, why don't I just bring those people to my platform? The only issue is that if they don't teach online, sometimes it can be very difficult to I don't know how to word it. It's very difficult to teach someone how to teach online because it's so different to a studio. Like, you're talking to a camera and you're like,
yes, no one is there.
Yeah, no one's there. It's like, hi. So, and it took me a long, I hated teaching online at first. When we were in COVID, I fucking hated it. I felt like I didn't know what to say. I didn't know, like I was trying to like respond to people on Zoom and stuff because I did it live. So that does help because they can write in the chat and stuff to you. So at least I had stuff that I could talk about. But like, I tried in early COVID to do some pre-recorded stuff. But when you do pre-recorded, you don't even have anyone live to use to talk about. So you're trying to think in your head like, right, what sort of questions would they normally ask about this trick that I can talk about? So now I kind of just make almost a joke of it. I'll like, if we're in a workout, so in my conditioning classes, for example, we'll be like midway through an exercise, I'll just tell them a story. I'm like, guys, keep going. I'm like, you won't believe what happened to me today, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, this happened to me, and I'll tell them a story of what's happened to me or whatever, just to keep them entertained. I try to also make my classes quite lighthearted and fun, so if something hilarious has happened to me, they'll be the first people to know about it. So I'll always like tell them stories or whatever and try to keep them motivated whilst they're doing the workout, because otherwise it's like, okay, let's do these exercises. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then it's just quiet. Do you know what I mean? And we have music, but you kind of need the instructor to make you feel like, yeah, let's go. So I'm very high energy when I teach. But I like it. It works for me, and my students love it.
Don't you burn out from like how much you teach in your platform for now? Like,
It's not much. I mean, because obviously I'm not teaching at my studio anymore. I was burning out when I was teaching online and at the studio because I was doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday online, Tuesday, Thursday at the studio, Saturday, Sunday workshops. Oh my God, I was dead. So then I cut it down and I gave myself the Tuesday off, but it still just wasn't enough. I was so tired. So then when I sold my studio, I've now got Tuesdays and Thursdays off. I teach 3 conditioning classes and then normally 1 or 2 tricks classes. So what's that, 5 hours a week and then workshops. So it works out quite nice now. My body is loving it because I'm getting days off now. So my body's like, what is this rest? What is rest? I've never had this before. Like literally, I used to work so much. I'm gobsmacked I didn't get injured because I was doing so many hours. I think the only thing that stopped me from getting injured was the conditioning. I think because I was conditioning, it was making me strong enough to be able to do enough. But yeah, don't recommend it. It was too many hours for sure.
your pluses and minuses, like yes and no's in teachers?
I think as a teacher, you've got to be encouraging. There needs to be a real good balance of like, I call it a shit sandwich. So a shit sandwich is where you give someone like the slice of bread, which is like, oh, that was really good. Then you have the shit, which is but it could be really, you could do better here, and then give them another compliment and be like, but you know what, this looks really amazing. So it's like enough that they're being like encouraged, but they're also being given critique so they can improve. So that's a perfect blend for me. Like, for me personally, I can deal with like just critique and then just like, I don't have to like sugarcoat it too much. But in Europe, they prefer sugarcoating generally. Most people, unless they've had like ballet training where it's like super harsh, gymnastics where they're used to being told, no, do it again, do it again. For normal people, they tend to find it quite hard to take that. So I tend to try and make it quite positive and be like, yeah, it was really awesome, but do you know what we're going to do? We're going to try and do this a little bit better, but I really liked this and this. And I tend to find that's a really nice way to teach. I also think as well, like, not trying to like push your students further than they're willing to go, because we're teaching adults and like, we're not trying to teach Olympic gymnasts, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not going to force someone to do something, because it's like, I want them to come back. And if I try forcing them to do something, I just feel like it's not a nice environment to be in, is it? So if I'm like, no, do it again, you have to, as a teacher, I think you have to be really good at reading. We call it reading the room. Do you know this expression?
Yeah.
So like, unless you can like read the room, it's very difficult, because you need to know when someone's had enough. And I can normally tell just based off of their facial expressions, like if I can push them or if I can't. I mean, I've made mistakes with that, to be fair. Like you can't always tell. Like there has been times where I've thought someone maybe wanted pushing and they didn't, and then I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to like upset you. Because sometimes people want pushing, but it's really hard to tell. But yeah, I don't know if you saw, there was a recent thing that I posted about actually, a Russian instructor called Igor. How do you say the Instagram name? Kotin. So I was posting about him because he posts a lot of stuff saying like beginner choreo. And I really have a problem with this. But this is where it gets interesting, because in Russia, and maybe even here, and in the dance community, they consider beginner not as like a newbie, not completely new to dance. They mean like beginner in that style. But in the pole industry, a beginner to us means completely new, like never done pole before, never danced before, like they're just joining pole for the first time. So, and I commented just saying like, what drugs are your beginners taking? Because I was like, this is not beginner. His choreos are really hard and I love his style. He's very, very cool. But his reply was like, oh, if your beginners can't do this, you're unprofessional and stuff. And I was just like, I literally posted it on socials and I was like, do you know what? If that's actually the case, like, we're all unprofessional then, because like, you know, I don't know many beginners who can do this. And yeah, I think this is where that sort of like boundary is like blurred a little bit between, because so many people were defending it, saying like, oh, but in Russia that is beginner. I'm like, yeah, but he ain't fucking selling to Russians. That would be like me setting up a course in Russian for Russian people and doing my choreo and saying this is advanced. They'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? This is like beginner. So I would never do that because I know that in Russia, my dance is like beginner for them. So I would be respectful and say, well, in Russia, this is more beginner level, you know, or whatever. And, you know, people are like, oh, maybe it's a language barrier. I'm like, well, again, like, don't teach in English if you don't know how to express yourself correctly. Do you know what I mean? So I have real problems with people doing stuff like that. So, but yeah, he was super rude. I was just like, whoa. I just found it really weird. But there's a lot of people like that, actually.
But
And they're
I
always
guess-
Russian. I don't know. I know that sounds so mean, but like, I don't know why. It's literally every time it's happened, it's always been
Characters.
Russian people. But it's not even like, I don't feel like they're being rude, they're just very to the point. And that's just so not European. Europeans, we have to like, if this is the issue, we have to go around the issue. Like, we'll get there eventually, but we go around a few times and then we'll come to the issue. Whereas Russians are like,
Straight away.
boom.
I think, yes, in Russia there is such a big concurrence, like there are, a lot of people dance in the childhood, and when they come into some new style, yes, they have background and they
Yeah.
can take another tempo. I was actually asking myself, maybe beginners, it's a joke, you know,
I thought,
like...
that's what a lot of people said. They were like, I thought it was a joke, but actually I knew it wasn't a joke because he'd already posted stuff like this before. And I was like, is this a joke? And I was like, I don't think it is a joke. And I just remember being like, I just when I read it, I was just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I know he's not doing it to harm anyone, and I get that, but I just feel like if you're going to teach in English, you need to adjust it. Like, if you want to sell to Europeans, you need to adjust to that culture, right? But yeah, and it's funny as well, like, because he comes from a different background, so he's not really technically a pole dancer. He's joined the pole industry, of course, but he doesn't really do much pole. He's mainly choreography, so he's more like dance. And it was really funny because he then competed just the other day at Exhausted Generation, and he did an Instagram choreo. I literally as soon as he started, I was like, that's from Instagram. I recognize that choreo. And so he turned up to his competition. He was wearing the same clothes that he wears on, you know, Instagram. He did the same choreo. He just did 90 seconds, and he just did it, and then just walked straight off. And I was like. It just showed he'd not been in the pole industry for very long, because as we know as pole dancers, that's not going to be enough to like win a competition. Do you know what I mean? And I just think I always can tell when someone's not come from the pole industry. Do you know what I mean? It's just always very, very obvious.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I don't mind how some other teachers teach much until it gets to beginners. Because intermediate dancers, they already like, they can understand what is good, what is bad, they tried something. But when the beginner comes, and if their first class looks like that, they won't come back.
They won't come back.
And the whole industry, they lost person who
Right.
maybe would be the champion and star and like invest in the industry.
Right.
So yeah, the beginners topic is very sensitive also.
Yeah,
for me.
I agree, because, you know, if, like you said, if one person goes to that and they're put off by it, they're never going to try again, because they're going to assume that all of the studios are like that. So it's damaging not just for his reputation, it's damaging for the whole community's reputation. And that's why I don't like it. But, you know, I think, you know, when someone has gone viral on social media and they're getting all these followers, you know, and I'm saying this from someone that it's happened to, because it definitely happened to me in the earlier days of my career. I would say that I was not as bad as that, but I would say like I was a bit like, yeah, I'm winning all these competitions, I've got all these followers, like I'm amazing, like I'm so good. But, you know, I think you've got to have like you've got to be humble with it, and you need to understand that we are just pole dancers. We are not celebrities. I'm not Kim Kardashian, do you know what I mean? It's like, we can't behave like celebrities because we are pole celebrities. And people are like, yeah, but you've got like hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm like, yeah, but the reason that is because people just want to save my shit and use it for themselves. It's not because they're obsessed with me personally. It's because they are getting value from our pages in terms of pole inspiration. So that's why we've got a lot of followers. But in terms of like, you know, celebrities, people don't follow celebrities because they're getting any value. They follow them because they're celebrities. And that's where I think the lines are blurred. And I think when pole dancers go viral and they get all these followers, it goes straight to their head. And I think when that situation happened, it triggered a little bit in me because I was a bit like, God, was I like that? Because when I first had that, like, my followers shot up and I was like doing really, really well. I remember thinking like, I was like, was I like he was? Like, was I behaving like that? I was like, I don't think I was that bad, but I know I definitely was a bit of a diva. I still am, to be fair, but, you know, I feel like I'm a diva in a good way now, whereas before I would say like I was a bit of a bitch.
I guess we go through that period understanding where is that limit being human.
Right.
But about celebrities, you think they can do whatever?
What do you mean, like real celebrities?
Yeah.
No, it's not that they can just do whatever. I mean, it's just like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you know, celebrities are celebrities to the whole world, right? But we are just celebrities within a very small community. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, sure, you're a pole celebrity, but it doesn't mean that we can start, we're not going to be called to the red carpet tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, sweetie, like, tone the diva level down. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when I see the terms and conditions for people's workshops, I'm like, must be a 5-star hotel, I need business class flights. I'm like, bitch, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm like, how is a studio supposed to make any money on these workshops? I'm like, and so this is where owning a studio really helped me, because I try to make sure that my workshops, for example, not only benefit me, but they benefit the studio too. So I try to keep the costs quite low so they can add money. I pay for my own flights, like, because I think that this is important. Don't get me wrong, that used to work out a lot better years ago because the flights were so cheap. They're not so cheap anymore, but still, I think, yeah, I want the business to do well from it as well, because otherwise why would they have me? It makes no sense. They may as well just do workshops in-house themselves. So yeah, I just feel like over the years owning a studio, it really made me sort of like open my eyes to like, we're not big celebrities, we are pole celebrities, and we still need to stay humble, we need to be nice people still, we need to treat people with respect, we need to understand that, you know, businesses are businesses and they have to make money. And I think that's really helped me, especially with studio owners, because I know a lot of studio owners like booking me because they know that I get it. So when they have to cancel or whatever, I'm so chill about it, because I'm like, if it's within the time frame that we've set, I'm cool with it, because I get what it's like. I've had a studio. So yeah, I think that's really helped me as well to sort of like tone the diva down.
I have a question for you. We'll be covering actually all what we discussed about your mission. Do you have a mission? Did you think about it? Like doing pole, what mission you have?
Yeah, so do you mean like a long-term plan?
Yes, and also like why you do that?
Yeah, I mean, my long-term sort of like goals are to keep teaching online. I love working online now because it's so flexible. I can do it from anywhere in the world. So I love the online aspect of my job. I will continue to teach workshops. This year I've got a few projects for my conditioning program. So that's going to be really exciting. But the other project is the social media project. I really want to go down the route, not so much necessarily hardcore now, but later in life when I'm not able to do as much pole. I'd like to be able to help, you know, people who want to be, you know, traveling pole artists, or businesses that want to work harder on their social media, because I feel like, not an expert at it, but I feel like I've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of things that I know work and don't work now. So I think it'd be really good to be able to help people with that. So that's kind of like, maybe like one day I'd go down that sort of route. But yeah, I mean, long term, I'm always, and again, I don't know how you feel about this, but like my main concern sort of like for long-term goals is I'm always thinking about my retirement. And I know that sounds really weird, but as pole dancers, our retirement is a lot sooner than what a normal person's retirement is. So I invest a lot of my money. I don't just spend loads of money. I try to like invest it into stuff. I save. My husband's got a good job as well, so he's also my retirement plan. He's my retirement plan. I always say to him, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be able to do this for very long, so you better get fucking promoted soon because you're going to have to pay for me soon. So yeah, my long-term goal is trying to like invest my money into other things so that when I can't pole anymore, I'm still going to have money to be able to live. Because I feel like pole dancers don't really think about that. Pole dancers will be like traveling the world, like teaching workshops, and they're like, this is amazing. And I'm like, oh, what's your plan like for the next 10 years? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you have a pension? They're like, do you know what a pension is?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, do you have a pension? They're like, no. Like, do you pay into a pension? I'm like, what do you mean you don't pay into a pension? It gives me anxiety even talking about it because I'm such a planner. And my dad, so half of my family, my dad's side of the family, they're all Jewish. And Jewish people are very good with their money. Jews do not waste their money. So like, I've always been taught from a young age to be very good with my money. So I'm always thinking of like, okay, if I had an injury, how would I pay my bills? If Mitch got injured or died, how would I pay my bills? So I've got insurances for like everything, like, because I worry about stuff like that. That's my biggest anxiety in life, is like not being able to pay my bills. I'm always like, ugh. So that's my main thing, like it's just carrying on as I'm going, working really hard, investing my money as best as I can. And but like when I'm done with pole, I'd love to set up a little do you know what a doggy daycare is? Doggy daycare? So you know like dogs. It's like a place that you can drop your dog off to be for the day, and like we look after them. We don't have one where I live, and I'd love to set one up just because I feel like it'd be really humble work, just like looking after dogs all day, grooming them and stuff. I just thought, oh, this would just be lovely. So that's my retirement plan. I have 3 dogs, yeah, and they're a fucking nightmare. But so yeah, so I feel like that would be really fun, just to have like a really small little business, like just like a doggy daycare where I live, like, and just live my days out with the dogs. Like that's kind of like my dream.
So then, what's up with Susan?
Susan, oh god, don't even get me started on Susan. So did you see actually? It wasn't Susan, but did you see it was a video about. It was like European teaching versus Russian teaching. And oh my God, that video did so well. That went like crazy. People loved that video. I should actually make more of that. But so Susan, when I first did Susan, right, was just, so for anyone who's watching this, Susan is like a character that I did that was a student called Susan, because as students, we do lots of funny things, silly things. And I wanted to make jokes about it, so I made this character called Susan, and I had a teacher called Danielle, and they would like converse with each other, and I did funny videos with them. And then there came a period, I think it was nearer to like COVID, where the industry changed a lot, and people were becoming a lot more offended by stuff easily. And people were being offended by Susan. And you know what? It wasn't many people, but I got to a point in my career where I was like, I can't be bothered with this shit. Like when people are like tagging you online saying, oh, Dan Rosen's like taking, like, I can't remember one of them was like, oh, you know, Dan Rosen, he's like taking the piss out of beginners and stuff. I'm like, yeah, because it's a joke. Like, I'm literally a man dressed in a wig. It's a joke. Like, it's a fucking joke. And you know, you're just like, and this is the thing as well, and this is why I really like Eastern Europeans, because Eastern Europeans are not woke at all. They're actually very unwoke, it turns out. But like one of my friends, she's from Serbia, and we were just totally going off track here, but one of my friends, she's from Serbia, and we were having a chat with one of our friends called Andrea from USA, and the girl from USA, she was like, oh, my son's like doing this and stuff, I'm really struggling with it, and my friend Athena, she was like, you should slap him. She was like, we can't do that. She was like, why not? She was like, we can't do that here. She's like, yes, you can. She's like, just slap him. He won't do it again. And just, the cultures are so different. Like, you know, you're just like, it was really eye-opening. I was just like, wow, okay. So I felt like when this time came where, you know, everyone was becoming offended by everything. You know, we used to do you remember on Polos, we used to do Tuesday Topic? Did you ever remember Tuesday Topic? So Tuesday Topic was like someone would send in a question, but they wanted it to be anonymous. And that, again, it used to cause so much drama. Because, like, for example, one of the questions was, it was a trans man, so used to be woman, is now a man, wanted to attend a class topless because all the other men were allowed to. But they said in their question that they hadn't had this surgery yet, so they still had breasts. And lots of people were like, yeah, they should be allowed to do that, like, they identify as a man, blah, blah, blah. And then there was lots of people who were like, no, like, of course they can't do that. Like, men shouldn't even be doing that. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I keep my top on in most of my videos because I don't like, I don't like taking my top off anyway, but because I'm body conscious, but also because I don't want anyone else to feel uncomfortable with like a half-naked man. Literally, I'm already wearing shorts, so if I've literally just got shorts on, no top, no, do you know what I mean? Whereas with women, you've got your crops, you've got your bottoms. I feel like I don't know, I just don't like making anyone feel uncomfortable. So for me, I like to keep the top on to sort of like keep people feeling comfortable. But that topic, it caused so much drama. And these topics never used to. They used to be really productive conversations. Like people would like give their feedback and it was really nice conversations. And then there was a switch at about 2020, I would say, when COVID happened. People were just arguing all the time. And I was like, this isn't what this was meant to be for. It was supposed to provoke conversation, yes, but it wasn't supposed to make people argue with each other. Do you know what I mean? So it just got really ugly. And every time I posted a Susan video, people would find a way to be offended by it. And I just thought, the times have changed so much that they just can't handle Susan anymore. Do you know what I mean? I just thought the industry are just they're not ready for Susan anymore. So nowadays, I just won't say it's a Susan sketch. I'll just chuck a wig on and I'll just do something funny like the Russian one I did. But I just don't do it so often anymore. And also because it takes ages to film, ages to edit. Too much work, too much work.
But actually, yeah, humor, it's such a like line which is like always someone can feel offended.
Right.
And yeah, actually you have a lot of humor in your account.
Right.
But a question, don't you think that, I don't know how many followers you had when you started Susan, maybe because you grew and becomes more people who like it and more who dislike,
right.
Still, like you can't...
Well, that's just the way of life, isn't it? The more people that like you, the more people that dislike you. It's always going to be the way. You're never going to have everyone love you. And I get that, and that's fine. But back in the day, people used to see stuff they don't like and they just scroll past it. But now, they comment. And it's just fucking annoying more than anything else. You know when you're just like, when I see stuff on the internet that I don't like, I just swipe past it. I don't comment on it because I'm just like, or unless it's something that's very close to me, and I think, that, you know, I'm going to say something about it. So like the cotton thing, actually, like I didn't comment saying, oh, this is a problem. I literally just commented saying, what drugs are your beginners taking? Like, lol.
You still can take it as a joke, right?
Right, of course. Like it's still a joke, but it's almost a bit of a like lol, but not lol. It's like, we're laughing, but we're not laughing. But, and then he turned it kind of into an argument because he obviously took it the wrong way. But nowadays, I would never go on and be like, I don't like this, you've done it. Because I'm just like, I don't have the time or the energy. So I just think my priorities are elsewhere. I'm not going to argue with people on the internet. But nowadays, everyone wants to argue on the internet. So I don't do Tuesday Topic anymore. We are really careful with what fails we share. Because again, with fails, if someone lands in a way that looks like they could have really hurt themselves, people get really pissed off, even though on Polos they have to sign a form to say that no serious harm was caused. That was a new thing that I introduced a few years ago because people were sending fails where they were landing on their necks, and I'm like, are you okay? They're like, oh yeah, I had to have surgery, but I'm fine now. I'm like, well, I'm not going to share that because that's not promoting safe polling, right? But if someone falls off and they just land on their back and it's funny, I love that. And like my favorite ones are the heels ones. You know, when people are on their heels and their heels go, ooh, they're the most popular ones. Everyone loves those ones. But yeah, we won't share like serious injury. But if we ever do, and someone sees it, they get offended by it. So it's such a fine line to tread now. We're literally like walking on eggshells. So I just feel like I just got to a point where I was like, do you know what? I'm just not going to post that stuff anymore. It's not worth it. I've got other funny stuff I do instead that's not going to offend anybody. So I just try and stick with that. And you're always going to offend someone. Doesn't matter what you do. But I was just getting really fed up with being cancelled all the time. I feel like it was like every month someone was posting about me and I was just like, do you know what? I'm just so tired of it. So I just stopped. Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
It's sad. We love Susan.
Yeah, I will try and do some more stuff with her. I just think I don't want to force it. I want it to feel natural. Like the Russian one, I did that one because I think I'd been speaking to Sasha about it, how like, oh, it's so different. And I was like, I should make a sketch about this. So it just happened naturally. Yeah. But yeah, the Susan ones, yeah, I'd love to. It's the stress of it.
Yeah. When you have like a lot of projects, you need to choose like.
Yeah. What you have to pick your battles is like a saying we say. You have to pick your battles, and like it was a battle that I just didn't want to fight. I just couldn't be bothered with it, so I just left it.
Oh, well, we are slowly coming to the end of our beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
Is there anything what you would like to say to the audience? Our audience, I guess, can be very different. It can be just those who start or those who do it long or even stars, those who are stars, celebrities in pole world. Mm-hmm. Like, what are the final words which you would like to say to them?
As like advice for them?
Whatever, yeah.
I mean, my main bits of advice would be like to enjoy your journey and don't let anyone make you feel that you have to do certain things to fit in. Find a style that suits you and remember that it doesn't have to just be one style. I dance heels, I do tricks, I do flow without heels. Like, I love everything. And many people will tell you that, oh, if you want to be really good, you can only be really good at one thing. But I'm just like, I don't want to be really good at one thing. I want to like do lots of different things because otherwise I'm going to get bored. So yeah, diversify, be a student, super important. Be a student because you will lose your love for pole if you become a teacher and you don't ever get to be a student again because it just becomes your job and then you just get resentful because you're not getting to be the student anymore. And then for professionals and for like elite, I would say don't underestimate social media. Social media now is one of the main reasons why people get booked for events, camps, workshops. You know, if I went into the street and asked another pole dancer like who won the last fusion competition, they wouldn't be able to tell me, I can tell you that. You know, because there's so many competitions now. So winning competitions is great, but it's not what's getting people's name out there anymore. And most people are getting their name out there using social media and letting people get to know them via social media. So don't underestimate social media for sure, because it's very, very powerful for this industry, I think. Yeah. Yay.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you for having me. I'd hug you, but you're on the other side of the table. Thank you, guys. Follow me on Instagram at Dan Rosen Pole. Find me on the Pole Destroyers for online classes. Come to Polos and don't be fucking offended by my fucking memes. Don't be offended or else I'm gonna block you, okay? And yeah, just send me a message if you got to the end of this so I know that you listened to the podcast.
Yay!
Bye! Like,
doesn't look good, sorry.
It's gonna fall on me.
What I hear.
Sounds like she said cheat shit.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to practice my Russian yet.
Okay, let's go.
I learned a new one. So I say привет is hello, right?
Yeah.
And then I say как дела?
Godzilla?
Is it? Yeah.
It will be like, today our guest is who?
Yeah, who is today's guest? It's me!